Welcome to Peter and Ruffy's Football Show here on STV2. The main talking points on tonight's programme. Celtic captain Scott Brown says the champions are going to Ibrox better than they were last season. Motherwell will shock Aberdeen in the quarter-finals of the League Cup. Hibs boss Neil Lennon faces a semi-final tie against his old club. Yeah, just a few of the talking points we'll be discussing on the programme tonight. Alan Ruff is alongside me, Peter Martin. It's Friday. Our bookroom guest, as ever, our old friend Hugh MacDonald of the Daily Mail. That's what we've got to look forward to tonight. No shortage of opinion. Big game. We've got to discuss Rangers Celtic on the way. But let's have a look at the back page headlines to see what dominates the thoughts of the tabloids. Celtic to the core. This is, of course, Brendan Rodgers replying to Craig Bellamy's assertion that whatever he does at Celtic might not help his CV in a move elsewhere, but Brendan Rodgers mentioning he's not interested in that at the moment. There's a picture of Louis Moult celebrating as Motherwell dumped Aberdeen out of the Cup, and there's just a little reference in the little sidebar from Pedro Caixinha saying any mind games that Brendan Rodgers is playing won't work with him. The Sun, again, this is reference to the story we were talking about yesterday. Pedro Caixinha reckons some of the Celtic players might try to wind up Alfredo Morelos, and there is the celebrations from the Motherwell players after dumping Aberdeen out of the Cup. And the Daily Mail, again, with Motherwell and Caixinha not fazed by any mind games. So that's how the back pages look. I think we've got to take our first port of call. Fir Park last night, Motherwell 3, Aberdeen 0. I didn't see that coming, Ruffy, did you?
Well, I said the other day there I thought it would go the distance, but I didn't expect 3-0. You know, that was a fantastic performance, and they came out very, very quickly, got a couple of goals, and lo and behold, we talk about the goalkeeper being the best goalkeeper in the game, and all of a sudden he throws a couple in the back of the net. But that's the way the football goes. But I think Derek McInnes will be extremely disappointed in that result, and as will the huge travelling support who come down.
I don't want to make it all about what Aberdeen didn't do. I think this is all about what Motherwell did do.
I agree with you totally. I thought the way Motherwell set up their team was, excellent. From the first minute, they were up for it. They started at, a hectic pace and got quicker. They had players that posed Aberdeen real problems all over the park. Moult, of course, man of the match, no doubt about it. Effort, touch, technique, 2 goals. But I think Cladden, on that right side of midfield now, and win back on a right-sided midfield player is really going to be something. He's got fantastic energy, willingness to run, and he's got a bit of technique to go with it. Still rough, Peter. He's still, he still needs to be moulded, but he's got all the attributes of somebody a modern player. And Motherwell thoroughly deserved it last night. I watched every minute of it. And I thought Motherwell, by far the better team, by far the better set-up team, by far the better coach team, and had the best players on the park.
Yeah, I think Hugh's been slightly kind to Louis Moult, giving him 2 goals, Ruffy, to be perfectly honest with you. The overhead kick's going nowhere near it.
No, it isn't, and it's just one of these things. I mean, we saw them happen in years down by that you make decisions, and sometimes they're the wrong ones, and sometimes they're the ones that cost games, and that's certainly what it did last night. But you're right, let's not take anything away from Motherwell.
And again, with the Moult thing as well, with that goal, that goal doesn't happen if he doesn't take the ball from back from goal and then decides to have a shot.
Yeah.
If he sort of plays it and says, "Oh, I'll come out of this, I'll try and find somebody," he's saying to himself, "I can flick this up and have a go here," and he gets the reward for that. I mean, my interesting question about Moult is, how good is he? What level? When people poo-poo him, people say, he's maybe a first division player in England or a championship player in England, and I always thought, what level is he? Is he better than that? Is he a player that could, for him, we saw Celtic buying Johnny Hayes to back up the squad when Celtic were really down in strikers, didn't have a striker. Would have been Louis Moult. Could he have come in there, or is that risible? I don't know.
Yeah, listen, he's certainly had a great start to the season, and I think his value to Motherwell, you can see it in their performances in the league as well. They've come out of the traps flying since the start of the season. I I've spoken to a number of players who said, they were gutted to see Mark McGee go because he was very well liked at Fir Park. There's no getting away from that, Ruffy. Stephen Robinson's come in, settled the ship, and then built on it as he starts to build his own team. I had concerns over this fan group ownership, because quite simply, I think sometimes, fans will get a real sense of how difficult it is to keep the club, in a good financial position where you can go and get half-decent players. The Marvin Johnson sale and other things will help them. The Benny Hennigan going to Sheffield United, they help.
Well, I think this is what the new manager's done. He's used whatever budget he had wisely. He's identified players, that he's seen down south, and he's brought them up, and he's fortunate enough, as you say, he's still got Lou Moult, because when you're in a team like Motherwell and you're looking around the dressing room and you see he's there, you're worth a goal, and then obviously you've got to just build everything round about him. But Hugh's right, they've got some young players in there who have broke through, and they'll be oozing with confidence with the wins that they're getting. 9
goals already this season is not to be sniffed at. You just wonder if Aberdeen were just ruining not making that extra step to try and tempt Motherwell even further.
I think undoubtedly they will be. I mean, I got the sense, early in during the transfer window, I got the sense that Aberdeen would make a final, heavy bid for them. I think what happened though is that they maybe sat down and said, you know what, we've got Nicky Maynard in, we've got Greg Stewart in, we've got Stevie May in, and we've already got Adam Rooney. Is it a priority?
Yeah.
So I think it might have been, maybe that had been the decision made rather than that final push to get him.
Yeah, OK, they're going to obviously play it out again at Fir Park on Sunday. Motherwell Aberdeen take 2, but I think the pain will still be there, and there's no way, revenge might be in the air, but it won't take away the pain of the Aberdeen fans that expect a cup final place at least.
This is the big thing. This is the big black mark against the McInnes reign, which is full of so many good things. I mean, it's undoubted that he's improved Aberdeen as a team. They've made them the second best team in Scotland. But I think a lot of Aberdeen fans look at it from the rear of Rangers' financial meltdown 2012 until now. They look at two things. They look at that side where Rangers just, just sort of disappeared and came, and didn't have the team of the old Rangers teams. Then Celtic under Dyla, and I think that perfect storm. I think an Aberdeen fan would say, well, OK, we might not be able to win the league. I think they could have pushed Dyla's teams a lot closer. But anyway, we should be winning cups. And out of that, all those years, they got 1 League Cup.
Yep, and now it'll be even more painful when they look at this graphic, because here is the draw for the semi-finals. We were wondering whether Rangers and Celtic were going to be pitted against each other. In the end, it's Rangers against Motherwell and Hibs against Celtic in the semi-final draw, Ruffy.
Yeah, obviously neutrals will want to keep the big two separate. They'll be hoping that is the final, but I'm sure Motherwell and Hibs will have something to do with it. This League Cup is notorious down the years for not any of the big clubs winning it. There's been a splattering of other smaller teams getting into this final and winning it, and I think sometimes it's good to go round, but this one's looking pretty ominous.
Yeah, does pretty ominous mean that you can just only see one winner? Is that what you're suggesting?
Well, as it is just now, obviously the other teams will have something to say about that, but until this run is broken, I think then teams might believe that there is a chance of beating them.
Well, the one thing that I think is that, Neil Lennon will not accept anything less than making that a fight. No. That's an absolute certainty. We're going to hear from Neil Lennon a little later on in the programme. But the other one for me, when you knock Aberdeen out at the quarter-final stage, Stephen Robinson's already said, and some of the players are saying, it's Rangers, get on with it. Now you're not as sure. Unless Rangers turn up on a wave of enthusiasm, get a brilliant result against Celtic, and then the momentum carries on, you're looking at that tie right now where we are and thinking, that's a tough one to call as well.
Imagine Rangers in the quarter-finals had beat Aberdeen 3-0 this week. Imagine that had been the Rangers. I would have said, oh my goodness, they're back.
Yeah.
You just cuffed a really good Aberdeen team 3-0. Oh, now... they put a whole new spin on, even tomorrow's game, the semi-finals, whoever they got in the semi. You'd be saying, oh, you really? And that's a spectacular result, 3-0. And it's not like 3-0. OK, the goalie was poor. But, can't say it's strongly. Motherwell thoroughly deserved that other night. I think it's a fascinating tie, semi-final tie, where Motherwell win, definitely fancying it. And a Hibernian team will go in against Celtic and they'll say, well, they've got no chance. Maybe somebody should have told Lenny he had no chance against Barcelona a few years ago.
Yep, a very good point on that. Do you see a role reversal just briefly in your prediction for Sunday for Motherwell Aberdeen in the league?
Yeah, I think it'll be tighter. I don't think the goalkeeper will make it as easy. But yeah, I think it will be tighter.
Yeah, what does tighter mean?
One each.
Okay, that's fine. I'm getting him into the groove now, Hugh.
Yeah, I think the Aberdeen must play much better. And I think there'll be a real few hard words being said. I think it'll be a draw as well. I still think Motherwell coming on, even now, just coming on the radar. Pretty good team. I think they're good enough to draw at home.
Top six?
Let's think about that one. But
Okay.
they're making a play for that, Peter.
Okay, I just thought I'd throw that one at you. Join us after the break because it's all roads lead to Ibrox. We'll look at Rangers against Celtic. Have you made up your mind yet? These two guys are going to give us the prediction. Join us after the break. Yep, that one was fairly easy for you, Hugh MacDonald. Some great old firm encounters. We'll look back at a few more with questions to tease you a little later on in the programme. So, it's Ibrox, it's Rangers against Celtic, and the build-up to this one, I think a number of people can use cliches that it's difficult to predict the outcome of an old firm game, but I don't think you're having any of that, Hugh.
I'm not. I mean, I'm not saying that Rangers can't win tomorrow because it's a football match and teams can win, but I mean, you've just got to look at the form of last season. Six matches, Celtic won 5, most of them very comfortably. The draw on the other match where Rangers score late after a disappointing performance from Celtic, but after a good piece of coaching from Graham Murty, who set up a team not to lose a game, or certainly set up a team to give them the best chance of winning the game by keeping the game tight, restricting Rangers in midfield, not allowing space in behind his full-backs. And hoping for a goal from maybe a set piece, which is what he got. So it was a smart piece of coaching. I don't see Pedro Caixinha going down that road tomorrow. If somebody says to me, do you think he'll be pragmatic? Do you think he'll overload the midfield? Do you think... I don't think so. I think he'll play the way that, the expansive way that his teams play. Full-backs bombing forward, front to back being very compressed, and guys supporting the striker. And I think that plays into Celtic's hands.
Here's Pedro Caixinha, the Rangers manager's take on the game.
I have a clear idea about what we want from the game. Of course, the actors may be different, let's say like that. So if the actors maybe are a little bit different, we may need to change something on the script, but not that much. We cannot change that much because of the characteristic of the players. But as I told you, I think I'm positive. I think we can count with all of them. We are just waiting to assess and have all the information to take that decision.
Okay, he's assessing who he's got fit for this one. The general feeling now is that Bruno Alves is out of the side. Maybe Declan John has a chance to make it at left back, but it could be an old firm debut for Ross McCrory. Here's the probable side, Ruffy. I mean, it could change, tweak. I don't agree with you on the expansive nature of it. I think, like Barry Ferguson mentioned earlier in the week, I think Jack will sit in there in the middle and protect that back four, and certainly Ross McCrory. That would be a baptism of fire in a Glasgow derby of this nature.
Yeah, it certainly would. It's not the ideal situation, get into a game of this magnitude. A young lad who hasn't played in one of them before. We all know he's a very good centre-half, but to get thrown in there, we heard Barry Ferguson talking about it took him 4 games to sort of actually get his head round of what was happening in the 90 minutes. So it's a massive baptism for him. I think a lot of the Rangers supporters will be asking, where's Kenny Miller? Kenny Miller has been a big part of the Rangers. The team obviously drifting into more of a midfield role and sort of a pulling the strings with the energy that he's got. And we'll have to wait and see, obviously, what the team is. But the boy Penny, I think he's got a massive game for him tomorrow. I didn't think he got on the ball enough at Partick Thistle to influence the game. And we all know the strength that Celtic have got in there, the pace that they pass at. You know, they get the ball forward very, very quickly. And he's one that I think the game might just pass him by.
Yeah, I think the more pertinent question that we've been talking about, Hugh, is so many people are hell-bent in saying Celtic are going to win this, win it comfortably. Is the question possibly how can Rangers win it?
That's when I was talking about him. When I'm talking about being Kashinya being expansive, I'm not going down. He's going to play like a Warburton full out. But what I'm talking about is that Jack will sit, etc., etc. But I think the crucial point is his fullbacks. I mean, we watched John the other night there, smashing going forward.
Yeah.
But even looking for the stands, there's a postal code there empty. I was most unimpressed with both centre halves, Alves and Cardozo. Really unimpressed with them. And I thought, if he maintains that defensive lineup, that is going to be very dangerous against Celtic players. So I think if it was me, I'd be playing, definitely not just Jack holding, I'd be using two to hold, maybe Jack and Holt, but certainly two holders, and certainly to come in and help the fullbacks. The fullbacks tomorrow are going to be up, if it's Tavernier and John, they're going to be up against Sinclair and Roberts or Sinclair and Forrest. That's tough. That's tough, and they've proved so far. John, we haven't seen the Scottish people, but the other two have proved that they just can't do that.
Yeah, and of course, this fixture not for the faint-hearted, as Brendan Rodgers, the Celtic manager, explains.
There's a noise and an intensity to this game that a lot of the players would have never felt before. So that's the first. If you get into a game thinking of about 10 things before any normal game, you go into this game and you're thinking about 15 or 20. So it's a great experience, but of course it's been able to regulate that pressure that comes along with it, which is very, very important. So yeah, they'll certainly feel a change, and they'll feel a change in terms of intensity, and of course they'll feel a change in terms of opponent.
Yep, it's a game like no other. Some people can get lost in it. I think that's one of the key areas that everybody was talking about. As far as the game is concerned for Wes Foderingham, he says he's not overly worried about what Celtic have to offer.
It's not the be-all and end-all. It's an important fixture, no doubt. It's Celtic are our toughest opponent that we'll face in the league, so no doubt it's going to be a tough fixture. But if we go there and turn up at Ibrox and play our football, there's no reason why we can't get the win. It's a difficult fixture, but we've got players that have played in difficult fixtures all over the globe. So, there's no doubt the Old Firm is a different type of occasion, and I think it calls for cool heads though. And I think that we've got that. And if we stick to our game plan, then we shouldn't have too many problems.
It may not be the be-all and end-all to him, but it is to one half of Glasgow, Ruffy.
Yeah, it certainly is, and I think he's going to be a big player for Rangers tomorrow. I would expect him to be having to make maybe 3-4 crucial saves at important parts of the game. He has shown that he can do that, but these are the kind of things that will have to go Rangers' way. I really do think Rangers have to score first. I keep talking about, the last time I was at Ibrox was when Rangers scored first. They did dominate most of the game. Until Dobelli scored, and then it was obviously a reverse role. So the Rangers players need to get the fans on board immediately, in 20, 30, 40 minutes into the game. They need to get everybody pushing in the same direction right at the start of the game.
And interestingly on that, Peter, one thing that has marked Rangers' performances this season is the way they have started quickly. They do tend to start games quickly. Whether Brendan Rodgers has looked at that and looked at where he come back. And I thought it was interesting that both John McGlynn and Brendan's assistant were at the match on Tuesday night. I'd be interested to know what they were pinpointing in the match. Certainly, I would think the fragility of the central defence of Rangers against the physical power of Connor Salmon, which would lead you to expect that that would tilt selection towards Moussa Dembele, and again the way that the Rangers fullbacks got forward, but there didn't seem to be covering behind them as well. But I think the more minutes that pass without Celtic scoring, it'll be crucial for Rangers.
Yep, one key player for Celtic is, of course, their captain Scott Brown. Scott Sinclair was glowing in his praise of his teammate after their dismantling of Dundee in midweek, and Scott Brown is one of these guys who seems to relish an Old Firm fixture.
Yeah, there's been a lot of different faces that I've came up against, and there's been some great battles, and we've had some great victories over there as well. But you can't say we're going in there favourites and we're going to go there composed and just chill out. We need to go there, work hard, press them high up the park, and make sure we play our own game.
Well, the funny thing is, regardless of who he picks in the side, Ruffy, you just know exactly they're going to play the same way. Here's the probable lineup for Celtic. I'm sure someone could tinker with it either way, but that's how I see it. Do you disagree with it?
No, I don't. I think Rodgers in there is going to be a big player. I'm a big fan of his, particularly in the early part of a game. He gives you a lot of energy going forward. Nisham and Brown will just sit and make passes, bring in obviously the wide players that Hugh's talking about. And the thing about Celtic is they'll hit on the counter. You know, Hugh's perfectly right. These two full-backs, if they charge forward, will be hit very quickly in the areas that they're moving out of. And then it depends whether the two centre-halves are comfortable getting into the wide areas to defend that. So I think Coutinho's got a big tactical decision to make here.
Yeah, I mean, you could argue the point over. I think James Forrest will feel mightily, not upset, but unhappy in his own mind that he'd done enough against Dundee with a couple of goals to actually get a start. And the manager was again heaping praise on him as well. But I think Roberts is one of those guys that could torment Rangers.
Yeah, I mean, my preference is Roberts. I just think there's more to Roberts than there is to James Forrest. But here's a newsflash: I'll not be picking the team tomorrow.
Yeah.
And what you've got to do is look at what Brendan Rodgers tends to do. And a lot of times, history shows us that he prefers Forrest over Roberts and brings Roberts on. What might tilt it the other way towards Paddy Roberts is that the last game at Ibrox, he played so well. Roberts, he was so integral to the win. But I still think that's a 50-50 one, who plays. The other one I think is 50-50 is who sits with Brown. I don't think Beaton gets anywhere near it. But might he say to Armstrong, you sit with Brown, because you've got more knowledge of an old firm. The fact of the matter, he's got options and he's got very good ones.
Okay, I'm going to drag a prediction out of these two guys after the break. We're also going to hear from 4 players who've actually sampled the delights of an Old Firm fixture. We'll get their take as well, and we'll speak to a Celtic fan. Different hairstyle for Gaza then, but it was an amazing goal. It was a counter-attack again. We're talking about it for the present day. It was a counter-attack on that day at Ibrox that gave Gaza his goal. Yep,
and I remember that, and different hairstyle for me too from those days. But the quality then, I mean, imagine the quality in showing that game for Rangers, the arsenal of players that they're commanding as to now.
Okay, you two guys better get your predictions ready on this one. We'll have a score as well from you. But all this week, we've been talking to players who've sampled the atmosphere of Rangers against Celtic, and they've shared a few memories with us.
I've said it for the last year or so. If Celtic turn up and play, no matter what team Celtic put out, because they can rotate their team, they've got a far better squad than Rangers. No matter what Pedro says, they have got the best squad in Scotland by far. Now, if they turn up and play, they'll beat Rangers.
But Celtic can go out there with a lot of confidence and go in and express themselves the way they normally do. But they're racking up goals, you know, and they're scoring from everywhere. So it's going to be difficult for Rangers.
You're under pressure no matter at Rangers if you're the manager, if you're a player. In terms of managers under pressures and players under pressures, listen, Celtic are under a different pressure. They're under to win every single game. And that's the same at Rangers. You've got to win. You've got demands put on you, not just for the management side, but the fans demand you to win every single game. And that's the beauty of playing with a club like Rangers.
Pedro Caixinha is under pressure to get a result against Celtic, and that's all the Rangers fans will see, so they need to get something from the game.
Best chance of winning the match is if he keeps it tight in midfield and stops Celtic in any control in there. In that aspect, then they can stop the ball getting to the front men. I mean, Celtic's big threat, and they could be playing Forrest because he scored 2 goals last week. They could bring in Roberts again, who's a top-class player. Sinclair didn't play; he can come back in. Dembele, he says it might leave him out, Brendan Rodgers, but he's still got Griffiths here. So that Celtic have a lot of firepower. So what Rangers need to do is make sure they thwart that. They stop Celtic getting enough control of the game in order to feed their key players. And when they can do that, then who knows, they might just create a few chances themselves, maybe set pieces, whatever, and get goals from that and win the game. Only if it works out that they can stop Celtic playing completely.
Well, you've got Scott Brown, who is a leader in the midfield, who will set his stall. And once he gets a few tackles, I think the rest of the team will feed off that. But also, Sinclair is on fire just now, and he's scoring left, right and centre as well. So he's, you know, that's the firepower that Celtic have.
He looks to me a willing runner. He looks to me if he wants to, he's desperate. When he gets in within 20 yards, he'll let fly, which I like from a striker. And his goal scoring record of late's been really good. Can he get 20-25 goals a season? We'll need to wait and see, but certainly he's had a good start to his Rangers career. And it'll be interesting to see how him and a lot of guys will be making their debut as well, Peter, so it'll be interesting to see how they handle the occasion, because it's totally different for a normal league game.
My prediction would be that I think Celtic will win the game, and it depends, the scoreline will depend, I think, on how Rangers set up. If they set up in a very tight manner, I think it'll be a 2-1 for Celtic.
No, I'm not going for 5-1, but I'll go for 3-1 Celtic.
For the simple fact that Rangers need to get something out of it, I think they can get a draw.
Everybody has a say on it, Ruffy.
Yes, and the guys have said the same as well. I think it's all about Rangers, how they handle the day, how they set up their formation. I think Celtic will win. I don't think it will be a large amount. I think that they'll win 2-1.
3-1 for me. I think Celtic have got far too much firepower. I think it's. I'll be interested to see how Caixinha sets up. It'll be interesting if Rangers scored the first goal, that maybe. But I think all logic, all form, all pedigree points to a Celtic win.
Okay, well. Last night we had a Rangers fan on to give us his view on how this game is going to unfold. Tonight it's the turn of Celtic fan John McVie. Earlier today I asked him if he was heading to Ibrox with great confidence.
Well, we need to be confident, Peter. We're 55 games or 56 games unbeaten. Ibrox isn't scary for Celtic anymore. We go to Celtic. We go to Ibrox as the favourites. I expect us to beat them. It's just like any other game now, Peter. It's no scary going to Ibrox. It's we look at the same as going to Dundee the other night or going to Aberdeen, Hearts. I'd expect a Celtic victory.
There's a lot been made of how Pedro Caixinha's team approach this one, whether they go 4-4-2 or try and make it a little bit tighter in the midfield. Do you think formation matters?
Well, I suppose for Celtic, I don't think it does matter. I think it'll be how Brendan Rodgers sees his team getting the best result out of the game. Rangers need to try and stop Celtic. I don't think they can open up, try and attack Celtic. They go 2 up front or 3 up front or however they want to play it. Celtic will just pick them off. I fancy it to be a comfortable victory for Celtic, no problem at all.
Yeah, as far as...
But Celtic-wise, I don't think there'll be a concern with the formation. Celtic can play 3 at the back, 4 at the back. It really depends on what personnel's fit. I know Jozo Simunovic was struggling through the week. I think he'll be fit.
As far as the Celtic lineup is concerned, you mentioned there Brendan's got options to change the formation. He's got so many options that want to come off the bench as well. How would you like to see them line up? How do you think they're going to line up? Do you think it's going to be a Dembele or Griffiths getting the nod?
I think it's fair for Griffiths to play. Griffiths has been playing well over the last 6 weeks or so. That Dembele's not been there. You know, I know he came back and he looked sharp when he played last weekend, but I would be looking for Griffiths to start the game and then bringing Dembele on. We'll start with 4 at the back. I'm positive we'll play the 2 centre halves, so a fit Boyata and Simunovic will play. Tierney and Lustig right back, left back. The hardest part of the pitch is the middle of the park. There's so many options for Celtic. We could play 6 or 7 combinations and that team would still beat Rangers in my opinion. It's whether he wants to go in Chan, Brown, or put Armstrong in, or play McGregor as well. Rogic can obviously he'll play in behind whoever plays up front, and then you've even got choices out wide. Does Roberts play? Does Forrest play? I would play Forrest ahead of Roberts. He's deserved his place. He's played well. He's scored a lot of goals. I think he's 8 goals already this season. His highest goals tally for a full season was 9. So I would play Forrest. I would start Forrest and then bring Roberts on for the last half an hour to terrorise whatever's left of Rangers' defence.
2 quick points before we finish, Paul. First of all, are you worried about Alfredo Morelos?
No, I don't think Celtic are concerned with Rangers. I think Rangers should be concerned with Celtic. Again, we are the ones that they need to stop. We'll obviously need to defend, and we'll defend properly. That's whether that we play Rangers, Aberdeen, Hearts, Dundee the other night. We need to defend properly. That's how you win games, is keeping clean sheets.
$64,000 question coming up then. Give us your prediction on the score.
At least -3 to Celtic. And I put money on that, Peter.
Okay, there's a confident man. I think that's indicative of many of the Celtic fans here.
That's certainly the sense I get. I mean, and if the recent history suggests Celtic fans should be confident going there. The interesting thing I think is that for a man of my generation, that this game is always, no matter how the teams were set up, it was always looked upon as a 50-50.
Yeah.
Going to it. Matter who was in the ascendancy. The bookies are not seeing it that way now, and see the younger generation of Celtic fans I'm noticing aren't seeing it that way now. If you talk to young Celtic fans, they see it as, in the words of Mr. McVie, not scary at all.
Yep, thanks to Paul McVie for giving us his thoughts there. Apologies to his family if I think I called him John actually, but Paul McVie offering us his thoughts after we got the thoughts of a Rangers fan last night. You can join us on Skype at any point. All you have to do is contact us at Peter and Ruffy on Twitter, facebook.com/Peter and Ruffy, and you can give us your thoughts on your team, anything that's bugging you. We'll be happy to contact you and get you on the programme. And don't forget, tomorrow you can get all the after-match reaction from Ibrox Rangers against Celtic. You can join us for that. Just one little footnote, Ruffy. Craig Thompson in the middle. I think he's the right man for the job.
Yeah, I think so. He's handled most of the big games, and we hope he gets the big decisions right, because that's what the manager and the players go on about. I'm quite encouraging that he's doing that one.
Okay, coming up after the break, we are going to talk Hearts. We'll also talk Hibs, as well as the rest of the games in the Premiership in Scotland. We'll also hear from our man down south who takes care of the Premier League for us. Ian McGarry will join us on Skype to talk about the big news down south in the Premier League. So, just one more question to go, and Hugh MacDonald says he's 100% confident he's going to get the answer to this one. Yep, so close. It was one of those rare situations where both teams were clapped off the park at Ibrox in a very wet Old Firm fixture.
Yeah, if you go to an Old Firm game and you see bags of goals and bags of entertainment, I'm sure the supporters will go away quite happy with a draw. And by all accounts, it was some fantastic goals, as Murdo keeps telling us.
Yep, okay. Let's look towards the other games. Here's a look at the fixtures for Saturday afternoon. Hopefully you can join us at 2 o'clock. We'll bring you the reaction from Rangers against Celtic, which is the 12 o'clock kickoff. We have Kilmarnock Dundee, Ross County against Hibs, St Johnstone Hamilton. Partick Thistle against Hearts kicks off at 4 o'clock for obvious reasons, and Motherwell against Aberdeen takes place on the Sunday. And Partick Thistle against Hearts, you have a manager on a high as he gets his first win last weekend. And you have a manager, I think, that can take a lot of positives in Alan Archibald and what they provided us with in midweek in the League Cup against Rangers, Ruffy.
Yeah, there was positives in the 90 minutes. Obviously, when we went into extra time, you can tell Alan was a bit disappointed. I think he thought Partick Thistle had the onus to go forward and win that game, but it wasn't to be. So we have to lift the players up going into this one. But the games against Hearts are usually good encounters. But and reading in the papers, Alan's actually identified that the next 5 games are the games when Partick Thistle really need to start picking up points.
Yeah, and for the Jambos, we watched Craig Levine behind us looking on at Partick Thistle in midweek. He'll have picked up a few pointers. He's slowly but surely happy with his backroom staff and what they're doing now, and he can just look at it from an overview.
Yeah, and what I've noticed was Connor Salmon was man of the match for Thistle, at least on Tuesday, and he can't play in the fixture tomorrow. So Miles Storey will come back in for Partick Thistle, I would think. We've watched a Partick Thistle side that passed the ball well, maybe passed it in areas where they shouldn't have passed it, and against Rangers I felt. And you'll know that they're technically a decent side. Bannigan come on as well, so hopefully he's getting back to full fitness. But you've got to look at Levine. He's a guy who comes in, lays down his structure, he steadied the ship. I would take Hearts to come away from Glasgow with at least something tomorrow.
Okay. Ross County against Hibernian is another match where I think Jim McIntyre will be looking at 3 out of the next 4 at home, a chance to pick up points, but they face a Hibs side. Looking forward to a semi-final against Celtic, and of course Neil Lennon knows all about Ross County.
I like Ross County as a club. I think they're a good model, got a great chairman there, and Jim's done a very good job along with Doddsy, and it's going to be a tough game. You know, we can't look too much into the Celtic game at the weekend because Celtic do that to most teams, as again we've seen last night. So it's going to be a very competitive game, and I think one that both teams will be going looking for the win.
Yep, he's in a very good place as far as Hibs are concerned because he's got competition for places, Ruffy.
Yeah, he certainly has, but I'm sure deep down he'll want to start going to places like Ross County and picking up 3 points. They can't keep drawing these games. They need to turn these draws into wins if they're going to be up there challenging.
Yep.
Okay, give me a prediction for that one.
I think Hibs will win that one too.
I think Hibs will just shade it as well.
Who wins St Johnstone Hamilton?
St Johnstone for me.
And for me.
And Kilmarnock against Dundee?
Fascinating game, isn't it? I mean, both managers got a smashing result last week. You know, really turned their season round. I mean, easy way is to say a draw, but I'll go for Dundee.
I think Kilmarnock will win that because of Dundee's midweek game.
Okay, interesting times. Here's how it looks in the Championship. Our game of the day will be Dundee United Morton. We'll be sending our man Graham Alexander to that. That's the fixtures on offer in the Championship. Here's what's on offer in League One. And all throughout the afternoon tomorrow, we'll be telling you if there's a goal in League 1 or League 2 in these fixtures. We'll keep you right up to date with all 4 divisions in Scotland. And there's the Premier League for you. That's what's on offer there. Maybe the big guns are avoiding each other. But of course, earlier today I caught up with our man down south, Ian McGarry, who keeps his eye on the Premier League, and started off by asking him about Everton. They may well have lost Lukaku, but they've spent, what, 140 million, and it's not going according to plan.
It's interesting, Peter, because I think in particular Hugh and Ruffy and I spoke about Everton winning the transfer window, admittedly before it was closed. on the show earlier in the season. And what they didn't do was buy a 20-goal season striker. Wayne Rooney clearly is not performing to the way that they would have expected or hoped, and Sanchez isn't either. So they're struggling. Lukaku was a big loss. Obviously, a guy who scored 24 goals last season in the Premier League. Look, if Frank de Boer loses his job at Crystal Palace, having lost 4 games, and Ronald Koeman, albeit has done quite well at Everton so far, spends £140 million, then is it hypothetical or is it realistic to say, are Everton going to stick with him? And I think it's that much of a crisis now at Everton because they're in the bottom 3. They've got a new owner, they've invested a lot of money, and they're at home to Bournemouth this weekend. Bournemouth, who recorded the first win of the season against Brighton a week ago today, a week ago tonight, I should say. And look, Bournemouth have got their tails up, they've got nothing to lose going to Everton. Everton have an awful lot to lose, especially at home.
OK, I've got to get your thoughts on all things Liverpool, because suddenly you've got Craig Bellamy coming out and saying it doesn't matter what Brendan Rodgers does in Scotland, his CV won't be impressing too many down south. But suddenly they're starting to compare Jurgen Klopp's record with Brendan's, and I think the Celtic manager comes out not too badly.
Well, I tell you, Peter, it's officially now the case that Brendan Rodgers' win percentage is better than Jurgen Klopp's during both their periods at Liverpool. I'm not that surprised. Jurgen Klopp has proven to be a very, let's just say, colourful but up and down performer in terms of the way the team plays, the games that they win, the games that they lose. They lost to Leicester in the Carabao Cup this midweek. They play Leicester again this weekend. And it has to be said, Klopp's position is becoming a little bit under scrutiny. You'd think he'd be untouchable because of his charismatic personality, etc. But even Liverpool fans now, and you hear it on the phone-ins, you see it in the websites and all through the Liverpool message boards, that people are not happy with the way the club is being run. Sorry, the way the team is being run more than anything else. So it's interesting now that Brendan is being looked upon as a sort of bygone age with much nostalgia and warmth, where when he was sacked, it was like a case of, well, he got close to the title but didn't win it. Klopp's got nowhere near as close as Brendan did. So it's an interesting one, and one that we have to monitor, I think, over the next few weeks.
Talking about monitoring, Ian, how does the Scottish Football League, how do people in the football world down there, media, managers that you come across, is there any discussion of it? Is there any scrutiny of it? I'm thinking now that, say, Robertson's come to Liverpool as a player and Brendan's at Celtic. Is there any looking at it?
To be fair, Hugh, I'd say very little notice is taken in general. I don't think Scottish football is in a position that it was in 15, 20 years ago when Rangers were attracting players like Brian Laudrup and Paul Gascoigne, etc. And Celtic had Henrik Larsson and Paolo Di Canio before him. So in terms of where our sort of position stands with England, Celtic periodically tickle the fancy of certain people joining the Premier League. Obviously, they're in Champions League group stages, so that helps. But I think the relegation of Rangers and then their subsequent sort of come back into the SPFL means that it's been taken less seriously. Obviously, an Old Firm game coming up tomorrow, which will pique the interest of a lot of people in England, because there are, as ever, you find throughout the world, allegiances in families to one or the other. But in terms of quality, I'd say we're still quite kind of off the radar.
Ian, do you think the Coutinho transfer saga, everything that went on there, is something that Klopp is going to look back on if things do go pear-shaped?
Absolutely no doubt, Ruffy. What I found bizarre was that when Coutinho played 2 games very successfully for Brazil, he was left out of the Liverpool squad for the following Premier League game. And the reason given was that Klopp reckoned he didn't have a proper pre-season because he had this back injury, etc., etc., even though he played very well in World Cup qualifying for his nation. Now, he was then amazingly included for the game against Sevilla in the Champions League, and then started again the following match. So I think Klopp will regret not integrating him back into the team more quickly, because he's clearly Liverpool's best player. And also, I don't think you can ever devalue or even misjudge the effect that kind of saga has on a club at Liverpool, where they've not won a trophy for so many years, and they desperately want their best players playing. And I think that's why we've had a little bit of discontent from Liverpool fans, who are historically incredibly loyal to their manager and to their club.
Okay, Ian, final point, as ever, from a man from the west of Scotland. Got to get your thoughts on this one. First Old Firm derby of the season, Rangers against Celtic. How do you see it going?
Well, Peter, from monitoring both clubs so far this season, I can't see beyond a Celtic win. I'm sure I'm not very sort of rare in that aspect. I think it would just be too good. Still, I think Rangers still have a long way to go to get back onto Celtic's level. And so I'd say 2-0 Celtic would be my prediction.
Okay, there you are. You might agree or disagree, and I can still hear that classic line. Jock Stein and Davy Wilson. Only a fool would predict the outcome of an Old Firm game. You can have your own thoughts on it. Thanks for joining us. 2 o'clock tomorrow, we'll have all the reaction from Ibrox, Rangers against Celtic, and then we'll give you all the scores across all the divisions in Scotland if you can join us on STV2. From all of us here, good night.